welcome. Okay.
Our students are interested in the geography of the life that shaped the artist in that chair. For some of our guests, their earliest experiences are of minor consequences, but for others, they are immeasurably important. I suspect that you belong perhaps preeminently in the latter group. Let us start with this. What is your father's name?
In American, it was Charles, but his actual name, Sicilian, was Luciano.
John. In many of your films, families and family roots are significant. Where did your father's family come from?
My father's family came from a small village outside of Palermo called Polizzi Generosa.
And what is your mother's name?
My mother's Catherine Kappa.
And where did her family come from?
A small village, a small city village, I guess you'd call it, outside of Palermo, again, south. It's in a valley. Polizzi is in the mountains. And this place called Cimina is in the valley, and you could see it in Visconti's great film, The Leopard.
Where were you born, Marty?
My mother and father got married in 1933, and they were born on Elizabeth Street. They moved to Sunnyside, Queens. My brother was born, and then they moved to, it was very, very nice at the time, apparently, and moved to Corona, Queens, and I was born in Flushing Hospital. We stayed there for about 7 years, but my father got in trouble with the landlord, and we had to move out, and we moved back to Elizabeth Street and shared the rooms with my grandparents.
You were in what is called by the public Little Italy, weren't you, when you came back?
Yes.
What's Little Italy like? What's it like growing up on Elizabeth Street or in Little Italy?
Well, I think the Little Italy of 1949, 1950, where I was sort of catapulted into, because in Queens, there was a tree. You know what I'm saying? There was a tree. It was fantastic. It was like there was grass. People that, I mean, there were, you know, but it still, it had
tree.
a nice, it was nice. It had leaves, and you know, I'm telling you, when we moved back, and we had to, and there was a big problem with the landlord. There was all kinds of complications. We moved back to Elizabeth Street, and I looked out that window, and that would be my point of view for years from that window, the third floor front.
You shot out of it.
Yeah, I shot out of that window precisely from my grandmother's apartment. At a certain point in time, I really thought this was the best place in the world. It was 3 or 4 butcher shops, 2 funeral parlor on that same street, 4 greengrocers, candy stores, pork store around the corner, a fish market, and that was just Elizabeth between Houston and Prince.
Mary the butcher?
Mary the butcher, she passed away only a few weeks ago.
No.
She was 96, yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
You've talked about it as a kind of village. Obviously it shaped you, right?
Yes.
Shapes you still, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, yeah.
I know very few people who have been in that chair who seem to have been shaped as much by those early experiences.
Well, I think what happened was that having contracted asthma when I was 2 or 3 years old, corona, something to do with taking my tonsils out, it wasn't necessary, and something happened, and next thing I know I had asthma, and I was separated from everyone else. And I think what started connecting me to the family was the fact that they really didn't know what to do with me, and I couldn't do any sports, and I couldn't play with the other kids, so they took me to the movies. And I think I experienced a great deal of emotional and a very strong emotional connection, particularly between my father and myself.
Was it he who took you to the movies?
Yeah, my mother took, yeah, he took me, and my brother took me, but my father was the one who took me to see some very classic films.
Was that at the Academy of Music?
Academy of Music and the Loews Commodore, which is now NYU School of the Arts.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It really is.
And what films had the greatest influence on you?
Well, I think when my parents took me to see, the first film I can remember seeing by title was Duel in the Sun.
Yeah.
And I must have been 4 years old or 5 years old. My mother took me to see it because I liked Westerns, and but I think she didn't like Westerns. It was condemned by the church.
Yeah.
So she said, I'm taking the kid, it's a Western. And, you know, and I must say it affected me very strongly. I think the hysteria of the film affected me, the kind of eroticism and the 3-strip Technicolor was so vivid. I remember hiding under the seat at the end at the duel in the sun itself. I was so frightened by the images of the sun and by the 2 of these people who were so madly in love that they were about to kill each other, and they do. But also in 1948, my father got a television set in Corona, 16-inch black and white RCA Victor, and on Friday nights they would show Italian films, and they showed neorealist films for the Italian-American community, one a week. Bicycle Thief. The first one I saw was Paisan. And my grandparents came over to the house, they were there, and they were speaking a language that the people on the TV was speaking, and I couldn't quite make that Italy was one place and America was another, but I knew that there was some connection. But I know that I was greatly drawn to those pictures. Paisan, Open City, and Bicycle Thief, and Shoeshine were the key ones. That became part of my very soul and consciousness.
Were you a solitary kid?
Oh, yes. I was pretty much the outsider all my life. I was sort of pushed. I mean, I would love to have. I think I would have liked to play stickball. I don't know. I could never. I tried a few times. I was there for comic relief. I mean, they tried. You know, I was so bad at it.
Because of the asthma, was it?
The asthma, basically, and I think what was put into my head, because my parents were, you know, decent, hardworking, working-class people, but they were not educated that way, and then they got very frightened and just said you can't do anything, and you can't fight, you can't play, you can't laugh. So the thing about it was that I think what happened was I had to find other ways of defending myself in areas that were kind of rough, and so I sort of had to rely on what was left of my wits.
Did you have a nickname?
Oh, Marty Pills, yes. I had my drugstore with me. Or you just, you know, go, time to take your pill, time to take this pill, time. Oh, it was, and to this, you know, to a very long period of time, into my 50s, really. I'm still in my, 59, so.